Yeah, and welcome. Today we're in Nashville, Tennessee, with one of Nashville's finest, Mr. Derek Wells. He's you did tour, but now your main gig is session guitar world.
Yeah.
And so today is going to be more of a long form video. It's not going to be a how-to, but it's more of like this is how a song actually gets built. It's a track of your buddies, right?
Yeah.
And so we're starting with and we'll show you. We're going to start with a very raw picture, and then he's going to go in and play the hats of many different guitar players. Mm-hmm. And by the end of the video, you'll see what exactly the step-by-step process that he would take on a session from start to finish and then out the door.
A lot of self-loathing.
Right.
A lot of, let me take that again.
Right. He's lying. There's almost going to be no edits. I was like, wow, dude, you were good. So anyways, check his stuff down below. Let's get into the track. All right, so you basically got a track. So what are you thinking first of all? Like, you just going to come in and lay down like a pad, or like what? Where do you start in your own process?
Right, yeah. So to me, starting point is always dictated by what they send me.
Yeah.
So in this instance, I'll play just a little bit of this basic track that was sent to me here. So it's kind of I'll kind of play a chorus vibe. So it's a cool track already. It's there's not a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
Basically a drum loop, bass, and then there's some acoustic and banjo information that's in there too, which is cool. And
so where does your head go to? Because you're going to be putting track upon track. So where does your headspace go to? Like, I got to save enough room to like.
Yeah, sure.
Like where do you start?
Well,
what are you hearing?
I know, right? Yeah. So the thing I'm always, I try to listen to my gut, and so based off the information that I'm hearing, I'm kind of thinking, okay, what kind of record is this they want to make? And then I'm assuming let's assume for the sake of this argument, they've told me nothing.
Yeah.
I get this track from this guy. You go, just do your thing. You get that, right? So
okay, sure.
Yeah, okay. So there's already in that, there's a lot of things I'm going to assess before I even start.
Yeah.
Like, is this hitting me as a particular format?
Yeah.
Is this a thing? If it's for the country genre, specifically, which, I work in a lot, am I here to kind of help bring it back to, like, there may be some tracks that maybe have no organic instruments on it when it comes to me.
Yeah.
And so part of my thing is like, okay, I got to be the guitar player dude that's going to help bring some of this back. In a case like this, it seems pretty straight ahead. He's already got the organic stuff on there, which actually for me tells me I get a little bit more room to experiment because that stuff's already kind of covered, right?
Okay.
So maybe I can kind of push it.
Yeah.
And then from there, the other luxury I have from here at the house is I can decide if I want to, play this song top to bottom as a guy each time, which would be what I would typically do in a studio environment. You go in, we all go out, we play the song through, we tweak, we play it again, whatever. Or sometimes I just start attacking the song in sections.
Yeah.
I sometimes I hear a song and the first thing I do is go, well, that chorus needs some love.
Right.
Just doesn't go anywhere, right? And so I'll just, let's beef the chorus up and then let me reassess.
Yeah.
So again, in a track like this, he's really left me either option because he's already kind of got some cool dynamics.
Yeah, sure.
The chorus already kind of hits. He's done some cool stuff with the programming. So this is really an ideal situation for me where it's about as much of an open canvas as I can have.
Yeah.
I haven't been tasked with any certain jobs.
Sure.
I haven't been, he hasn't said anything like, well, give me big stereo power chords in the choruses. Right. Whatever. Yeah. It's kind of a cool thing. So, again, my reaction is like, okay, well, I feel like it's kind of a rocking track. I should probably do some kind of character that has a little bit of, teeth on it, right? Let's kind of beef it up. Not going to go mondo, it's not going to be like metal, like hard rock aggressive, but like those classic kind of Tom Petty, edge
swagger.
Of breakup and pass. Yeah, swagger's really good. That's a really good term. Like, so, so swagger. So that's where I'm going to start. And then, for doing this, for the first few passes, I probably will play, I pick a guy.
Yeah.
This character, this guy in the band.
Yeah.
Here's the sound, here's this. Yeah. This is what this, so what would that guy play?
Yeah.
With this guitar and this sound.
Sure.
you know, what we, you know, and so like I've already kind of got this
Yeah,
telly.
let's check it out. Show us what
Kind
you
of got this telly
I'm gonna move over here. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I've got this telly, and I'm just running through this Analog Outfitters, this Sarge amp over here, which is just a cool.
Those are cool. I've seen those quite a bit.
Yeah,
low
wattage, you know, affordable, great amp, and I have a you know, so here's just the kind of straight the telly through that amp, just kind of a straight ahead amp sound, and I'm gonna kick on this overdrive pedal, this old Ibanez Distortion.
By the way, don't try to find one; they're gone.
Yeah, I'm lucky. I got a couple that stored away, but so that, you know, that just puts little
hair on there.
Little hair on there. I'm not at this point in time. I'm not EQing anything after the fact. I'm not getting really. You know, I'm going through a straight ahead pre. And that's
just kind of just chords and.
Yeah. So what I'll probably do is, you know, to me, the primary guy is like this dude rocks out in the chorus, right? And then we get there, he's got to do some impact work.
Okay. Cool.
And then the stuff that's debatable is everything in between. Yeah. You know, so I'll just spin it. I mean, this is gonna be the first time I've played it.
Yeah, let's hear it. Go for it.
I'll spin it and we'll see what happens. I'll have more answers when it's over. So, you know, clams and all, it's like that's the first take. There's a lot of experimentation going on. I'm kind of finding what speaks. I'm listening to, you know, this part I've kind of whipped out here, but I'm kind of seeing how it interacts with the other stuff. If there's, you know, some more obvious gaps now, if this guy's in there, if there's some stuff I realize I need to stay away from because there's other things happening. The other thing, too, a lot of times I'd be taking into account is if we had a vocal on a track like this, is just kind of the tonal center of the vocal. You know, certain notes and themes that are, you know, wouldn't be wrong necessarily, you know, to spell out, you know, the difference in spelling out a C chord like this between spelling out a C chord like this, you know, based on where the melody falls, because I'm trying to complement and stay out of the way. You know, you get situations where a half step here or there kind of gets rubby. So those are all the things I'm processing playing the first part. It's not so much that I'm playing that part thinking about what I'm going to do next. I'm kind to like real time figure out what this guy's role is in the band, so to speak, and in this case in the track. So, you know, after a take like that, you know, the kind of first dummy run through, I've kind of already made my notes about, okay, I know how to play the lick now, idiot. I'll play that right for starters. And, you know, a couple other things, you know, that maybe I didn't notate on the rough chart as I went down. And now I kind of assimilate all that and go through, and 9 times out of 10, what you'll see then is you'll see a simplified version, a slightly pared down of what I just did with like a lot less experimentation. And, you know, hopefully what I've done at that point is already kind of weeded out some of the stuff that didn't matter or didn't fit right or didn't fall right or whatever. So this will now be the second pass of this original guy, you know, and I always tune every time if you're breathing, tune. And you know, you'll notice I really didn't play much early on in the song. I kind of experimented with a couple things, but I realized immediately there's already kind of a vibe going on, and I think I want to circle back and kind of really like zero in on some cool moments for the beginning instead of just kind of broad stroking it. So for this guy, again, in the idea of kind of paring it down, you know, I reserve the right to change my mind, but I may not even play till the first chorus. So here we go. them cut off on their track, I know I've held the note long enough because they're not going to hold it any longer than that. But so the trick there, so obviously kind of laid out. The choruses were a lot simpler. You heard me experimenting less. So I really didn't play any like licks in the chorus this time around. And a last minute spur of the moment decision was to kick on a tremolo pedal. As I was sitting there not playing in the verse, it occurred to me, man, a tremolo sound might be cool. First, kind of sound to introduce that pre-chorus section, which was the flat 3. And then kicking that off to get my in the chorus. And while we're there, another kind of subtlety of these kinds of things is even the downbeat of a chorus, the way you approach it can really affect kind of the impact and the identity of the song. So what I just did is different from neither one's right or wrong, and these are kind of things that just over time with trial and error, it becomes kind of just an extra part of you realizing what you need to do in the top of that chorus. There's also a big difference between and. Neither one's right or wrong. It's just a matter of kind of personal preference and what else is happening in the track and, what you, again, think the role of this guy and this character is supposed to achieve there. So that happened. I noodled around a little bit in the verse. And then I brought my tremolo guy back for the bridge section. This back half here, which I'll play. He's off there for the chorus, just kick that tremolo out. That's kind of the great thing of having these things, these pedals handy is, you can make those kind of spur of the moment decisions and go, let me try this here. Sometimes it works. In that case, I think it did. So I'll probably leave this track as is and start thinking about the next guy. Part 2 on this guy, right? So I try not to do a lot of things like just out of principle, like there's no paint by numbers situation here. But one kind of commonality of just my workflow is I've just found you get better separation the more you can kind of mix, signal sources. So, I'm going to switch guitars. I'm going to use the same amp for this, but I'm going to switch guitars, switching characters again. I might, with this guy, I may or may not end up doing a little EQing on the front end. We'll find out really quick. But yeah, so now the exploration is like, okay, here's the new guy in the band. What does he do? And for this one, I actually do kind of already have a little bit of a game plan just because I know that I want to help perpetuate some of the motion I already hear in this track, And so this is just going to, again, in the spirit of exploration, this is kind of going to be getting the sound right and then taking a stab at this motion part thing that I've kind of got in my head. So it's a darker sound than we had earlier. It's probably going to be a little dirtier too. I like that sound as it was. I'm going to step on this. It's a exact tone pedal. It's called a shape charger. It's kind of like a boost pedal, but it gives a little oomph, which I think is cool. I'm also going to take a little bit of the bottom out of this sound. So mid-range speaks. Still darker than the telly sound. Also, this song's in F sharp. The first part I played, the telly's tuned down a half step, so I'm playing in G. I'm getting a lot of those open strings. Now I'm going to play these kind of closed positions, and that helps in a lot of ways. It's going to help separate the parts already, and you don't get a lot of the same ringing strings where you can get these kind of like EQ buildups. You play too many parts out of the same position, and sometimes these ringing overtones, an open G string ringing across 4 parts just becomes loud, and it's such a hassle in the mix. So we're trying to nip a lot of things in the bud already, just kind of before we even started playing the part, right? This is another part, again, it's not going to come until the chorus, so I'm going to start pretty close to the chorus. So that worked out pretty well, I thought. I experimented with, when I got to the walking riff sections, it was kind of like, should I double down on it? Should I not? Should I maybe be cool to play something under it? So I think what I've kind of now settled on is it's probably just best for me to play the riff. I'm going to relearn it because it's in a different position now. And then I also kind of experimented with some long note stuff in the bridge, and it got a little too dissonant for my taste. So I'm going to go back and probably touch up those two spots and then call this track good. Okay, so part 3. So I've decided, kind of thought, well, slide might be a cool texture on something like this. Again, I've changed guitars. Same amp, although that might change too. I always kind of, amps can change as easily as guitars, and sometimes that's really kind of the magic. You find a deadly combination for a sound. But in this instance, I'm going to stick where I'm at for now. No EQ, but now I've got a fuzz pedal on here. And what I've gone ahead and done, just because I know I kind of dig this already, is I've got a little slapback delay on this sound right now. So, and then I'm also in kind of a open tuning-ish. I've got the couple strings tuned down, so I've got some access to basically an open G shape. And then I'm going to, this kind of thing. So I'm going to play this character now and see, and I might start to experiment with some stuff at the top in the intro and see if any kind of melodies or just some accent points start to jump out. So I'll give myself a little pre-roll here. always giving them enough room to fade it out at the end. They can always chop it if they want, right? So yeah, I like how that's sitting. I like it as a texture. I like that it's got some more long note information. There's some melody stuff starting to be introduced now. And then there's a lot of parts where I'm laying out, where I don't want it, certain like those licks and things. Sometimes those are the kinds of situations where too many things play it, it gets a little like jazzy or show tuney thing. Everybody plays the melody all at once. So on this, I'm kind of purposely omitting some of those licks. I've already got 2 guitars doing them, right. And then some of it, like this stuff I did here in the bridge. Some of that's really nothing except me just kind of holding on to one and just giving some of that rattle. But in the context of the track, it builds tension in a nice way. Then I get ready to bail out for the other thing. So yeah, kind of as before, this is a thing where now I kind of go back through. I like the general idea. There's a couple licks I'll probably reassess and a couple things, but I like how this worked. And now I feel like the track itself as a whole has really kind of taken shape in terms of dynamic. And now we start to get a little surgical on maybe the next couple parts and just picking some spots where we need an element here, we need an element here. So that'll be the next step. So I've got that cleaned up now, and I wanted to talk just a minute actually about slide. I kind of glazed over it really quick. So if you don't play a lot of slide, which I didn't, years ago, there's a lot of things to kind of learn in it. But one of the things that tripped me out was when I was trying to learn slide licks. It took me forever to like try to figure out how are they getting from this note. And you realize a lot of times a lot of slide guys will implement a lot of different open tunings and variants on open tunings. It's kind of the standards are like open E, which is what Derek Trucks kind of plays out of a lot. And open G and open D are also real common. What I do, I kind of will do these bastardized versions of them. So in this instance, I'm essentially in open G, although we're tuned down a half step because we're in F sharp. So, but if it was a standard guitar, I'm basically going, the A string is down to a G, and the high E is down to a D, right? So these two are the same, and then these two are the same. Now, standard G, open G tuning would probably have this low string down to a D also, so you'd have kind of 3 Ds. But I wasn't going to touch that low string. I didn't feel like doing it, so I didn't. And I'm turning off some of these effects right now. But what you get is you get access to, for one, you get these real simple bar chords, kind of like Keith Richards, where a D shape is this. Just one finger. So you get to access that with your slide. Right? Same thing up here, G. So this, big third in there, right? But you get that sort of thing. So then I put a little fuzz on it because I wanted it to be a little nittier. Grittier, I should say. Right? And then, again, just from doing it over the years, I feel like a slapback's just always a fun thing. So what I've got is just a simple delay. It's this Strymon, Brigadier delay. And it's just set with, basically one repeat, just one single delay, sped up really fast, and then you get the mix-up. So what you get is, I've got it so tight, it kind of sounds more like a room sound. It just kind of sounds like you've got your mic away from your amp. So if I slow down the time, you can really kind of hear the delay here. So it's just the one delay. But you speed it up, right? Then you find your mix sweet spot. So it's just it's just vibe is really all it is, Then without it, as opposed to, it's kind kind of a cool. It's like somewhere in the middle of a room sound, a reverb, whatever, but it's just a simple delay. So yeah, those are all kind of just, you know, slide tricks. And then, you know, you see a lot of guys play with their fingers with slide instead of using the traditional pick. And that really just boils down to the amount of muting you're having to do with the other strings. Because you can't have, you know, you can't hit one string and let the rest ring and have this. You know, if you're just trying to hear, especially when you're soloing, you know, you can't go, that doesn't work. You know, you want to go. So what you're doing with your fingers is, you know, you're picking the note you want to play. Some people do this. Some people will grab with their index finger. And you're making sure with your other fingers you're muting all the strings you're not using. So that's kind of just a quick primer on playing slide guitar. Okay, so, you know, at this point, what I kind of, a lot of times I'll do is, you know, once I've kind of got a handful of stuff on there, it's not uncommon for me to solo up just what I've done, and I'm just kind of giving it a once over. And at this point, just as part of my workflow, I'm kind of mix as I go, even though I'm not going to be the guy that ultimately mixes this track, just for the sake of hearing my parts and trying to make sure everything kind of congeals at the end. You know, I want to make sure things have their place, you know. So I'm kind of soloing up these first three. And that gives me a good, you can tell when something's too loud, obviously. And, you know, I'm just kind of making sure, man, okay, all my tuning's good, everybody's, you know, operating together on a good thing. So that's great. So I feel like I've got a really good bed. I've got some impact stuff going on. I've got some colors. And this track's feeling great. So now there's just kind of a couple sections I want to address, because I really want to make sure these little pre-chorus sections on this song, they go by so quick. They're really just 2 bars. But I want them to be a scene change. And that's cool what's happening, but I feel like, you know, I kind of want to add a little something else. So I've got... I've switched amps now. Again, we're, you know, always kind of conscious of frequency buildup and that kind of stuff. So I'm just kind of playing through a matchless now. And I've got just a simple delay with a little modulation from this line 6 box and a little spring reverb. And I like that sound, so I'm going to see how it fits in this track. I like that. I'm going to double check my tuning, because when you got the modulation, the tuning is already a little wonky, so you got to make sure you're on it. So I like that. So I'm going to put that in this next pre. Same exact thing. And I'm letting those trails kind of bleed into the chorus. It's just all part of the nice transitional thing that happens there. You know, when I got a sound like this and I go, okay, I think this is working, this is cool. You go, well, is there anywhere else this character might reappear, right? You know, well, the bridge is a down section. It's kind of a lot of open space. It might be cool to have something in there. Probably help beef up some of that part. Probably go. Checking my tuning, always checking my tuning. Let's try it in there. Love that. So what I might do is try an octave up of the same guy. That's what I'll do. This is the real-time processing part of it. So here we go. Let's try this. Yeah. I'll do that. Do that. No. Okay, let's try that. I like that, except I want to change the last note, so I'll play it one more time. Still not quite the money, so I'm going to punch halfway through. Plenty of other stuff that takes over at that point. So, you know, it sounds funny, and I think to a lot of people it might be kind of counterintuitive to just kind of stop, you know, you just jump in, you stop. And this guy, you know, but we have the luxury in recording to kind of treat these little moments as sections. And we can bring in something that's just for that if we want. So mix down a little bit, because we're monitoring loud as we play it. And that's fun, and I like that. Now at this point too, this is where you can kind of enlist some of our friends and neighbors in the plug-in department. Something like this that I kind of want to be big and washy and cool. You know, I might throw a plug-in on here just to make it stereo. You know, I can get a lot of the same effects on the board here, but in this instance, I just think it'd be really cool if it was big and wide. So I'll throw this plate reverb plug-in, just a simple UA plug here, and you get here's without it. Sounds cool, it's fun. With it, and the beauty of that is the client, if he wants to change that or he thinks that's too swimmy or whatever, he can always get rid of it. I'll send him that separate printed, and he's still got the basic idea. So that's one just you know, concept of treating just little tiny sections. These are just paint splashes as you drive by on the road. That is this song. Okay, so we're in the home stretch here. You know, this track could be done for all intents and purposes, right? You know, there's a lot going on. It feels like all the obvious stuff's happening. It's cool. Plus, there's a vocal that, you know, we haven't really been paying any attention to, which is the ultimate sin, by the way. But for the purposes of this video, we're not listening to the vocal. You know, and I could probably send this off, but there's one other thing I'm hearing that I kind of want to take a stab at. And what's so cool now, you know, with the technology of guitars is, you know, we can kind of fill the gaps of some other things. And this part I'm hearing isn't really a guitar thing. It's kind of more like a keyboard part. I don't know if this guy's going to put keys on this later. You know, he might be, and this might be redundant, but I'm kind of hearing it, so I'm going to try it. Again, I want this to be a stereo kind of ping-pongy thing, so I'm using a plug-in just to make that easier. I'm using this Primal Tap Delay Sound Toys thing. And it's going to be kind of a rhythmic thing, but again, I don't want it to sound like a guitar. You know, I don't want... So you go through this kind of rabbit hole of just, okay, well, how can I make, you know, the guitar sound funny? Well, I'll roll the tone back all the way, and I might, it's already kind of got a muted sound. I'm gonna go to the neck pickup, that's cool. And then I'm gonna engage a little filter down here, kind of think of it like a cocked wah, you know, or a calf up, just some mid-range stuff. It's getting cooler already to me. I'll tweak a little bit of EQ here to get some more of those frequencies I want. Dig that. And then I'm going to put some fuzz on it. It's getting kind of cool, right? So I'm going to tweak the feedback on these. I just want them to be a little bit shorter. And we're going to take another experimental pass here, see what we get. I'm starting to dial, you know, I'm sitting there, I'm tweaking mixes and levels and delay trail amounts and feedbacks, and I'm making sure I'm synced to MIDI, because this is the kind of thing you definitely want to be in time, although I still have to play it in time on my end. But I do like what it's doing, and I might still bring the filter back just a little bit so it's not quite as bright. That's it. Still maybe one more delay trail happening than I would like, so I'm going to bring that feedback just a little bit more, and I'm going to take another run at the first half of this. So yeah, you know, not a sound you normally think about. You playing guitar, especially you dream about playing in a rock band or something. You don't think about doing that kind of stuff. But it's a nice emotion to the track. It's a harmonic element and level that we don't have, tucked back in the mix. Yeah, I'd buy that. So there may be some parts where they decide to mute it. I probably gave them more than they need, but that's just one application for guitars that don't sound like guitars, man. So on this, kind of wrapping up, we got this track done. But this guy, he wants a solo. There's a solo section kind of marked in the song, and so way I'm approaching solos on all this stuff is it's really no different from the very first part I did. It's like, there's just kind of an instinctive, like, what would I do if I was the guy in this band? Like, does it need to be a more melodic treatment? Is it really a solo, or is it just kind of more like an instrumental thing? Maybe there's a melody, like I said, or is it the kind of guy that rocks? And then even in that instance, it's like, you never want to be the wrong guy in the band, right? So you don't want to be like the guy playing metal in Bob Dylan's band and, whatever. So... there again, kind of like we were talking about earlier with like the rakes and like the different impact, the ways you can kind of hit a G chord. It's similar with guitar. It's like, you can have like a solo that's country, but that's still aggressive, or you can have a solo that's rock, but that's melodic. And, there's a lot of, between the like super shreds, super simple, tasteful melody, slide stuff, whatever, there's a million variances in color, right? And that's also too where just a lot of it's just going to come from your own natural personality. We've all got licks that come to us and feel right on our fingers and things that we go to or whatever. But on this, I'm going to just kind of play a couple solos and, see what happens. And, we might find a theme that we like and elaborate, or I might just play something I think is cool and leave it. We'll see, but we will go. I've kind of same amp, basically same situation I was in for the keyboard sounding thing. I've got just changed guitars, got an overdrive pedal on, and again just a little bit of slapback. So I like this sound, so we'll see. So yeah, nothing wrong with that. No blatantly, no wrong notes, nothing. Pretty straight ahead, simple. Nothing too complicated in terms of the execution and stuff. And so at this point, what I would do is like I might do one that's a little crazier or a little simpler. You get in these situations a lot too, where they come back and go, oh no man, like we want you to like rip a solo, or whatever. And then they also, might come back and say like, well, we want a theme. It doesn't have to necessarily be melodic, but can we have something? A lot of things you hear a lot about is like, can we have something singable? And you go, oh, somebody can sing. That's what I want. Okay, well, let me try something like this. So again, just kind of off the cuff, and I'm coming up with a, kind of a motif. Kind of repeating that thing, kind of an earworm. And then, kind of all of those can work. Any of them can be fine. I typically don't send the guys a ton of options on the solo. I kind of try to zero in on the one that I think is the one. And then kind of go from there. And if they have a tweak or they come back and request something else, I'm happy to oblige. But you can go down the rabbit hole really quickly of just like, oh, I'll send you like 5 or 6 solos, and it's hard. Plus, like me, I'm happy to get one good one. So I'm not gonna try to send them got five good ones. They might ask for slide. They might ask for any other variations. And then I've kind of got a solo guy, whatever. I've got him happy. And then what I typically might do is I'll go, well, okay, maybe this guy might play some fills in the second verse. So what I'm going to do now is I'll take this same character, this same sound for the solo. I'm going to come in the second verse. I'm going to play some fills. I might play some fills in the chorus. I'll play another solo, and then just kind of ride out. And I'll give him some licks and some options and kind of a, approach of emphasizing certain parts of the song. So here we go. So I would never play that much over a track in real time, especially usually if I was on a session or somebody watching, unless you've just been given the all clear. But in this instance, I'm sending it kind of blind. He can go through, he can pick his best, his favorite moments, and if I was on a recording date or if I had the client here with me, there'd be a lot more scoping and a lot more conversation about, what do you love about this or what do you hate about this, and let me tweak and arrange from there, whatever. And then again, getting a little more surgical. But in this instance, it's just a good example of not going like insanely, laughably overboard necessarily. But he's got a lot of spots there where if he wants some more attitude or some more track growth as the song progresses, he's got a lot to choose from there.
That was freaking awesome, man.
Oh, thanks,
super pumped. Make sure you guys tell him like more. Okay, there's one quick thing before we leave. You have played both worlds.
Okay.
Session guy and touring guy.
Yeah.
Lots of bands, that whole bit. If you're going to give somebody, just a guitar player, and you don't have to get super specific, like 3 takeaways. Like if you want to be a musician, professional musician, and you're just starting out, get these 3 things down. And I'm putting you on the spot, so take your time, and I'll edit out.
Yeah.
If you give me too much dead space, I'll edit it out.
No, yeah. Tuning.
All 3.
It can't be overstated.
Yeah.
It's the make or break thing in when you get into the realms of professional musicianship.
Sure.
Live, studio, whatever.
Yep.
The tuning and the intonation of an instrument. Making sure you're always aware of that.
Right.
That's one big thing that I see cripple a lot of dudes when they kind of first step into some big boy musical scenarios.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you got a piano player going, somebody out of tune, in the room.
Right.
And you're, is it me? That kind of stuff. My favorite quote from Joe Walsh, learn how to fix your own shit.
Yeah. Right.
That's learning how to be handy with a wrench on your instruments.
Yeah, for sure.
Learning how to, if you're capable, throwing some new tubes in an amp, if it allows it, that kind of stuff.
Right.
Being out on the road and you're on tour and stuff gets weird. You're playing.
There's not always a roadie.
Yeah, there's not always. Or you're in the middle of a session, and it's like that kind of stuff happens, or the seasons change here, and I go to get a session, and the next boat on my guitar, and if you can't, get a wrench out and tweak it a little bit yourself, you're hindering your ability to go to work that day.
Right.
And there's always going to be a line there of like, great luthiers exist for a reason, and there's definitely stuff out of your realm of capability, but man, if you can work on some of the minor things,
how important
intonation.
How important is gear? Is it an afterthought or right up there in front?
This is what I like to say. The amount of gear is certainly not important.
Yeah.
If you do it long enough, you find yourself fortunate enough you've amassed some things, and you got a lot of really good wrenches. But man, if you're starting out, I just focus on having what you do have like bulletproof. Yeah. Like making sure, if you've got a small little pedal board, make sure it's not like making weird noises and only works half the time and stuff. And making sure, like maintenance, like not having delayed maintenance on your things. If you've got a $500 guitar amp, you can at least stay on top of the tubes being in good shape and making sure your speakers is up to, in a good state. Right. There's small little things that you can do to make sure that your stuff is bulletproof, and so that when you show up to work, you can focus on being creative. Right. And that's what to me, that's what the gear is there for. It's like I spend X amount of money on this piece to know it's going to be quality. Right. And that when I show up to work, it's going to be
fail
awesome.
Safe.
Yeah. So you don't need 10 guitars to become a professional guitar player in Nashville. Yeah. You need, one really good one that is locked down. Yeah. And then as you get to grow and, maybe you got a little extra dough or whatever the case is, that's fun too. Sure. But you don't have to have all that stuff to get going.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. Well, there you have it. Thank you for watching. Again, check his Insta feed down at the bottom in the description box below the video.